Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
Through the night, deep in the heart of Texas, the trailer park is nice and dark. Deep in the heart of Texas, Ted drinks his brew and he spits his chew. Deep in the heart of Texas, the TV blares but no one cares. Deep in the heart of Texas, here we go.
Hey there. Welcome back to Blah, King of the Hill Rewatch Podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
I didn't think you were there for a second. He's literally sitting across the table from me. Rusty, I had a plan for our Friday episode, which was we were going to do some head scratchers about King of the Hill. But we just finished recording Season 3, Episode 12, Three Coaches and a Bobby, which features Coach Sauers, who is a very bad person.
Yeah, maybe not a bad
he's
person.
Nuts.
Well, he's nuts now. Yeah, I think he's an old man at this point. He ran his head.
I think he was probably nuts then.
Well, you got to think.
He said he would kiss them all on the mouth if they took him to state.
Think of the episode he had.
Yeah.
What happened before the episode? He put on a broken football helmet and ran full speed into a wall.
Oh, sure. But he was already yelling at them and calling them pantywads and stuff.
Yeah, but I think like the cheese and the cracker were at the perfect tilt to where the cheese was still hanging onto the cracker.
Understandable.
Whenever he slammed into the wall, I feel like it knocked that cracker just off enough balance to where the cheese fell to the floor.
It gave the cheese
and he kind of like
gave the cheese that air rind. You know how it gets real hard on the edge.
and it turns a darker yellow.
So
I like a good cheese rind. You don't like the hard. You cut that off.
Part off. Yeah.
I melt that part.
So what we missed on our Mason, how long was that episode from Monday? It was pretty long, right? It's like an hour and a half.
Just under 2 hours.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. So one of the things that we missed in all of our planning, because we kind of over-planned for that episode, was Mason has a special thing he wants us to listen to, and we were going to talk about bad coaching. Right?
Yeah, bad coaches.
That was part of the thing. So we're moving that to Friday now, and Mason's going to grace us with this video that he is providing, and we're gonna listen to the sound from this thing. Mason, you want to give us a little rundown and then play it for us?
This is the former head coach of the UMHB basketball team.
Oh, it's the women's team.
Yeah, it's the women's team.
I didn't realize
male coach,
that.
Women's team. No, it doesn't really matter, but it's
Well, I've heard a couple of things that he says, so it is a little weird. Yeah.
Now I don't know the full context. This was released by I believe she's a former player.
And this is somebody just like up in the stands recording it.
I think they were just fully recording their practice because this was during a practice.
Okay.
I believe they were recording a practice.
This is taped for later where they could watch.
Probably, yeah. And then she just released it.
Okay.
And then since it was released, he has officially retired.
Retired.
I heard one article say retired. I heard another say he was fired. Most likely both, basically.
Sure.
And it just brought up a good discussion because when you go down on Twitter, it's half of it is saying, "Oh my God, this is atrocious," and the other half is, "Wow, this generation is really soft. Are you kidding me? This is not even anything that bad." So I just want to get your guys' opinion.
I've never tried to go down on Twitter. That is a weird thing to say.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Your
Stupid.
poor wife.
That's-
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Good job,
There you go.
Mason.
That was a good one.
Nice. That was a good joke.
That was a good one.
All right, if you guys want to hear it real quick, we'll play
go
it.
for it.
Yeah.
Strong language, people.
Yeah,
The
warning.
5-year-olds.
If the Mason joke didn't get you, then this is strong warning.
Strong language warning. Explicative filled
Expletive.
tirade.
We are fucking sloppy, and we don't roll up because we're pissed off because shit ain't going our way.
Oh.
Just like I said yesterday, because we're frustrated. You fucking fraud. That's what it is when you do shit like that. I see this shit happen all the time.
My
Because you can't do
goodness.
the fucking right thing. Wow. You're a bunch of frauds.
Bunch of broads or frauds?
Frauds.
Frauds.
Enough to sit there and know I fucked up. So when I'm going to roll up under somebody, or I'm going to fucking
Mighty, this guy.
Wow.
bitch ass move. That's what that is.
Ooh.
I shouldn't laugh at that.
Get the fuck out of here.
Wow. There's your exclamation point on the end of it. Get the fuck out of here. You know who I feel bad for in that recording? Is Megan. Whoever Megan is really getting the
whoever
shit into
Megan,
the
yeah.
stick there.
Well,
He was
I-
replaced by his assistant coach, who is now the interim head coach
Oh,
until they
okay.
find a replacement.
Okay.
Also, I apologize for laughing at when he said bitch ass. I'm sorry.
No, it
Anytime I
was-
hear the phrase
it's
bitch
fine.
ass, I laugh.
It's kind of funny in hindsight
Yeah, it is
listening
kinda
to
funny.
it. It's not fun. It's not a funny situation, but for me, it's if you put a camera in every coaching area ever in Texas, that's probably mild.
Yeah.
Did either one of you?
And I really don't see it. I don't know. I think the optics of it that makes it really, really bad is the fact that everybody got to see him hollering and screaming like that. Had it not been recorded and shown,
Sure.
and just happened,
If
he
it was
wouldn't have
just-
got fired for that.
Yeah, if
He's
it was
just
just
motivating his players to do
third-hand
better.
information or whatever.
He was
yeah,
just
they
a
wouldn't have fired
passionate
him, yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
Like, why would you? And I think the reason why he gets fired has to do something with cancel culture, because that's how. I mean, like, he's just he's passionate about his sport. He's passionate about his team. So whatever he did right then might not be 100% correct at that time. So he should walk off, cool off, apologize, and then move forward from it. I don't see like how anybody can learn from their mistakes if it's the second they make a mistake, they're just shuttled out the door. You like his. It's not like he was hiding rape. Like, we've got a congressman that worked at a college, and he there was boys being molested, and he just kind of pushed it to the side.
Yeah.
We've seen that a lot.
But that's what I'm saying, is he wasn't doing anything so egregious that it was like harmful to them physically. It might be a mental battle with them, but that's what sports and passion is. Passionate about your sport. If they're sucking, that should already be a mental battle. They're fighting anyway if they're not doing as good as they know they can play. I don't really agree with the firing thing. I think a sensitivity training or something like that might have been in order, or a public apology, something. I just don't see why
we
people
don't
have to be shuttled off.
But
for
here's
screaming and cussing when he really didn't like. I mean,
here is also the issue: we don't know the background.
Yeah.
So
from
this
base level, yeah.
This could have been the last
could have
straw,
been.
kind of thing.
There was a
right?
whole Twitter thread. I just didn't feel like reading it.
Yeah, sure.
Anyone who really interested, you can find this very easily.
But this is an ongoing thing with coaching.
It's the aggressive body language in the video that I don't agree with.
He's kind of jumping all over.
Because he's kind of like jumping and doing all, like, he's got a lot of aggressive body language. That's the only part of it I really didn't agree with, was the aggressive body language, the tone and the words. But you go to any professional sports room, you really think that, like, Bill Belichick, like, when they're getting Super Bowls out there, is just like, okay, boys, y'all have a great time today. No, he's out there. You sorry sons of bitches. Y'all go out there and win. They're screaming. Yeah, what the fuck?
Well,
you see it. You see it on the mic'd up. They're screaming at each other.
Here's the other issue.
The
though.
coaches are calling each other fucking morons, and they're calling the players morons.
Here's the other issue, though. This is UMHB, which is a
College.
private Christian university.
That is the key.
So that I'm sure that has a lot to do with it. Their hands.
You think Kim Mulkey ever got fired for screaming at the girls? That,
Well, no, because she won championships. But
this guy is too. He's he's known for being it's a champion. UMHB is a championship program.
I don't know that it's on the par of a Division I women's championship team. This may be Division II or III.
They have the record for the most wins overall for crew women's basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and
In
they
what,
also
though? In what, though?
the American
That's my-
Southwest Conference. Which, I mean, that's not. I mean, you're right. They're not in like a heavy, super crazy conference, but they've broke all the championship records,
and that's great.
in that conference.
But
for conference
UMHB
wins.
is a much smaller. I would assume it's Division II.
I think it's Division 3 actually.
Okay, so 2 or 3, and then on top of that, being a private Christian university, they can do whatever they want.
For sure.
And something like this comes out, you have enough pastors or whoever shows up and says we want this guy fired, they're going to fire him. I mean, that is just the way of the place that we live for some reason.
It's D3 basketball. Let's be real.
So it's Division 3.
It's Division 3. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not huge.
It's still great.
But the
though.
fact that the division you're in, you're the number one team in your division. These guys still get paid. They don't get paid like D1 coaches, but these guys still get. I guarantee he's making over $100,000 a year to coach basketball at this place, especially in a championship atmosphere where they're going. It says here what they won their division 3 times in a row in 18, 19, and 20, and then they won the ASC regular season champ in 2022. They made 7 American Southwest Conference tournament appearances with 11 wins for the program.
Is that all since he's been coaching? Or?
He's the only head coach to lead the crew to the NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Championships with 3 appearances in 19, 20, and 22. So he is a really, really he's a good coach in the aspect of being a winning coach, and sometimes a winning atmosphere like that. Yeah, he's just passionate about winning, but now it becomes nefarious if his passion is just based upon like his own accolades. Like, oh, I want to be the best. He didn't, where he doesn't really care about the team. That's why he's able to scream at them. And again, it's not necessarily the screaming for me. It's the aggressive body language towards them. You could scream and holler and y'all are scum. You suck at your sport. I don't know who taught you how to play basketball. Like, that's a part of motivation in a sports. Like, I know it's toxic, and I know it in the general eyes of everything, it doesn't work like at home. You're not going to scream at your kids like that, but I don't know, in a competitive atmosphere, it's just different. It's a different mentality to be in, to be competitive. You can't play football and want to win and only care about the checks you get on Monday. And that's what Deion Sanders even said with all this coaching and stuff that he's got going on. He said it's going to be different now with the name and likeness payouts for these college and high school athletes. He said because it's the same way in the NFL. I can't teach some dude who's already rich. I can't make him want to play football any more than he would want to play. He said if they don't have it in him to play, I'm not going to sit here and argue with a kid that's got $20 million in his bank account from name and likeness stuff because of that, that type of mentality or whatever.
One trash fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas.
So the one in recent history that comes to mind is Urban Meyer. I don't know if you guys know anything
I know
about
exactly
Urban Meyer.
The whole Jacksonville Jaguar debacle. Yeah,
Well,
I know him.
he went to work for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was hired after he'd lost or after he left Ohio State. 57 years old. He had 0 experience in the league. They hired him with an owner that really was trying to make a big splash with, a big-time college coach. A lot of these college coaches don't work out in the NFL, and I'm not real sure why, but it's just
different
happens
atmosphere.
to be.
Well, that's the Deion Sanders answer.
Yeah.
You can't tell millionaires, you can't scream at people who have millions of dollars in their bank account. The way he treated the NFL, he treated the same way he did college.
Yeah.
Some of those college kids, some of them barely have money to buy their food. let alone barely have
Well,
money to get gas.
all
to
of
get
that's
to
changing
somewhere.
now with the
It is.
NIL rules and
And,
stuff.
and it
so-
should. If them kids are
But-
out there putting their life on the line, playing a almost professional level of sport, especially D1 athletes,
Yeah.
they should be able to get paid.
But if
Nobody
you're-
should tell you can't make money off your own likeness.
But if you're
You own that right.
well,
not a team.
I understand the other side of the argument too, in that the college is giving you a six-figure education for free.
I mean,
So-
true, but if you get injured to the point you can't play ever
Sure.
again,
then you
Yeah.
lose your
Then
No,
you
I
you lose
get
your
it.
scholarship.
I
Yeah,
get
if
it.
you tear your ACL and you no longer perform after you come back from your ACL injury, they could cut your scholarship from
and
you.
they usually
Sure.
do.
And Deion
Same thing
Sanders,
happens if I have a job though, and I get injured so bad on the job that I can't work anymore.
yeah, and
mean,
I keep relating.
can't work.
I keep relating it to Deion Sanders because there's a lot of he's done a lot of college stuff and he's
Yeah.
really open and really transparent about everything that
Sure.
all the behind the scenes stuff because he has nothing to hide.
Yeah, he's turned that little program around.
At Jackson he did, and now he's moved to Colorado. He's moved on, but that's a lot of what he says. He equates a lot of this money stuff. He's like, they should be able to get their money. He said, but it is going to change the dynamic of football. He said because there's going to be kids that'll go sign with teams like because Colorado Buffaloes. They're not like they're a good team. They've got
Well, they have
some
been
good
in the
wins. They
past.
have
I
been in
mean,
the
they've
past.
been- yeah,
but they're not like an SEC school. They're not drawing the same type of recruiting talent. When you have money involved, recruiting talent is going to change. Alabama is not going to. Alabama and LSU and the whole SEC, they're not going to be the top dogs for long once all this name and likeness stuff goes because. These guys have got money. They'll go play for coaches that are not the notoriety of the coach and what the coach can do for them. Like Deion Sanders changed that whole kid's
But I
lives
think-
by putting them on Amazon.
but I think
because
what
he
you're-
gave that they all get paid. All of those football players from Jacksonville that are on the Amazon Prime TV show documentary.
Sure.
He set up a deal for them to where they all get paid from that.
But I think what you're
So-
seeing with the SEC is that it is becoming the NFL of college football. With Texas and
But I think it's at its peak. I think it'll be a decline with the name and
no,
likeness stuff.
what
I
I'm
think it
saying
declines.
is there are teams moving over to the SEC in the
Oh, yeah,
future.
yeah.
Texas, like University, like University of
A&M.
Texas, A&M's already there.
Yeah.
Another Big 12 school, and I can't remember who it is. But they're all moving to the SEC. The SEC is gonna be the NFL of college football at some point.
Yeah.
And so what I think you'll see is, you're talking about how kids will go play for the highest profile stuff. I think you'll see everybody starting to funnel to the SEC, and then
Because there were some big commitments that left the SEC to go play.
but I'm saying within the SEC,
Yeah.
you'll see those type team alignments start happening. Like, Buffalo was bad for a long time in
Yeah.
the NFL, and now they're really good. Cincinnati, same thing. You'll start seeing those teams kind of fighting for one-upmanship there.
Yeah, I think the SEC. I think what's going to happen is now that you have money, they're not going to be able to keep it's going to water down how good these teams are because they only have enough money to funnel into because teams are going to start paying.
Yeah.
College teams are going to start bringing people because they can give them money legally now.
Well,
so they're going to start paying people to come
the
play
colleges can't, but
There'll be ways
the sponsors can.
Yeah.
And the
for them.
problem
The booster club will
well,
pay
the
them
thing
out.
that you're going to see in the next 5 years is that NIL thing will turn into an actual thing. Right now, it's just like the old West as far as
free-for-all
NIL
at the
stuff
moment,
goes.
yeah.
Yeah, nobody really
you got
knows
high
how to,
school kids.
nobody
signing
really knows how
$1 million
to
contracts with Nike and stuff right now. It's
nobody really
crazy.
knows how to run it. They don't know who's supposed to get paid and who's not supposed to get paid. I mean, at some point, somebody's going to come in there and lay down some rules. And so I think you'll see that at some point. But my comparison to Urban Meyer was for Coach Sauers. I think Coach Sauers, if Coach Sauers ever made it to the NFL or to college, I think this is exactly how he would be.
Yeah, he would get caught
So,
drunk, like with his arm around some
Urban Meyer,
college girl.
Yeah, he was hired, 57-year-old coach with no NFL experience. He has his first staff meeting and immediately calls his scouts lazy during that meeting. He doesn't know who some of the biggest players in the league are during the meeting when people start asking. They ask about Deebo Samuel, Aaron Donald, and Jamal Adams, and he responds was like, "Who is this guy? I hear he might be a problem for us." That's not scouting. So the coach is not doing scouting, but he's calling his scouts lazy.
Yeah,
and
calling
blah,
him
blah, blah.
lazy. Yeah.
So that's the first quill in the quiver. And then Urban Meyer hires Chris Doyle. Chris Doyle was with the Hawkeyes, and he left because of a lot of backlash. Or he was accused of a lot of racism and things like that
Yeah,
in
a lot of
his
backdoor
tenure
stuff.
there. And Urban hired him, saying he was very confident in him. Then he hires Tim Tebow as a tight end, which Tim Tebow never played tight end. He was not wonderful in the NFL when he came through the first time, and now he's even older and older, and he hires him to play tight end because he played for Urban, at one point, and so he's familiar with him.
Oh, Tim Tebow. Yeah, he brought him
Tim-
in.
Wait,
to
when
run.
was this?
This was when Urban Meyer.
This is
it was last year.
2021.
This was
It
2
was
years
last
21.
ago.
football. It was the last
21.
football season.
I think it was the season before.
Was it?
Yeah.
Doug-
Yeah, because Doug Peterson's been there for 2 years. Yeah.
Wow, it's already that much time
Yeah.
passed. Yeah, it was. He's right. It was. Yeah.
So Tebow didn't even last through the
He didn't make it through-
preseason.
he didn't make it through the
He wasn't even
preseason.
through the preseason.
He didn't even play a preseason game.
So then July 1st of that season, the Jaguars were fined $300,000 for violations of contact during off-season practices. The Jaguars were fined $200,000. Meyer was fined $100,000. Then during training camp, DJ Chark, one of his players, broke a finger because he was doing extra reps in a blocking drill. So this is, get in the mud, eat some mud kind
And that's
of thing.
their
for like
at that
Sauers
time.
did.
DJ Shark was their number one receiver. Probably he was like the number one, number two receiver.
And so so he missed the entire preseason.
Yeah. Which
Then the
isn't good.
Jaguars lost their opener, which they lost to the Houston Texans. If you know anything about the NFL, the Houston Texans are god awful. And
Watch it, Mike.
They're terrible.
I know, but you don't have to say it.
You have to say it
Well,
so,
what I
with
was
so
I
much
was
enthusiasm.
I was saying that because they allowed 37 points to the Texans on their opening game. This is the Texans who had not scored more than 22 points in any game the rest of the year. So, I mean, they just got steamrolled, right? The quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, threw 3 interceptions. That was his debut. I am shocked that Trevor Lawrence is still the quarterback with the Jaguars, but he made it past.
He's good.
the-
He made it past the hump.
but I'm saying he made it past the Urban Meyer debacle. I figured they would have just cleaned house. Then
Well, they gave him his credit. They gave him an opportunity. Well, you couldn't have just threw away your first round pick like that and got rid of him.
oh, they do it all the time.
Well, I know they do, but Jacksonville Jaguar is not really in a position to be throwing away, quarterbacks that quickly.
Jacksonville Jaguars had some of the grossest helmets I've ever seen in the NFL when they were two-toned. You remember seeing the spray-painted two-toned
there was
helmets?
rumors that
They were
they're.
awful.
I don't think the rumors active anymore. I don't think it's an active rumor, but at one point there was a rumor about them going to London since the owner
Yeah.
is based out of
he's from
London.
there,
yeah,
yeah.
that's where he's based out of.
During-
Khan, I
yeah,
think is
in-
his last name.
Yeah, he was great in Star Trek too. In September, Meyer denied rumors of going to SoCal to be a head coach. He said, "I'm committed. I'm trying to build an organization." Come to find out, that was a real thing. He at then one point in September said that showing that he really didn't understand the NFL system and stuff. He started comparing playing his team against Alabama every week, saying that was a big thing. Then in October, they played a Thursday night football game, and they lost to the Bengals, which, by the way, everybody on TV who's an announcer, learn how to say the word Bengals, not Bengals,
Yeah, they say
because
the
I
Bengals.
cannot with the Bengals
The
and
Cincinnati
thinking walking like an
Bengals.
Egyptian the entire time I'm watching a football game. And by the way, if you are with the Bengals organization, go with those white uniforms. Those things are sexy.
Oh yeah, they're very sleek.
So anyway, he after that loss, he didn't come home with the team on the plane, which was it's just the weirdest thing. Coaches always ride with the team.
Yeah, that is weird. That's a flag. Right there.
Instead, he stayed
A red
back.
flag.
Yeah, he stayed back in Ohio because he has a bar there in Columbus, and there was that viral video that went out of him like grinding up against that girl in the bar. He issued an apology 2 days later. Said he went to see the grandkids and all went out to dinner that night.
Yeah, went out to
which
dinner
is
with the
just
grandkids.
bullshit.
Grinded on 20-year-old women.
And so he apologized to it. The owner is
And
now.
you know, he was probably really cheesy too. He was like, "Yeah, I'm worth about $45 million. You
I'm a
want a
head
meal?
coach,
I'll
baby."
pay for your dinner. I'll pay for the drinks."
I really like
yeah.
your tight end. And in November,
No, that's what he says to Tim Tebow.
the Jaguars signed John Brown, who Brown was a lot of he didn't know routes and things. He was really criticized for signing this guy who couldn't play. Meyer
Mike,
then,
I have to make a really bad joke. I'm sorry.
please do.
He was probably like, "I'd like to tackle your quarterback."
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody.
Would you like to see my backup quarterback? He tells his quarterback Trevor Lawrence that he's got to slow it down for these wide receivers because they're from the South and their transcripts ain't right. I mean, this guy, you talk about a true piece of crap. Then he has problems with Marvin Jones. He went up to him personally and chest thumped him and stuff. Then James Robinson comes along, another player. He fumbled, and Meyer went after him real bad. Then he went after one of the assistant coaches. He started calling the assistant coaches losers. Then the kicker was the one to point out that the coach had come up and kicked him during practice.
Yeah.
And then finally they end up firing Urban Meyer after that.
Think about that though. Like, these dudes are professional athletes.
Yeah.
They wear suits. They wear ties. They're forced to do interviews. They have to talk to people. What in the world does a coach have any business do touching these dudes physically in any way?
They don't.
In anger.
They don't.
Kicking him.
Absolutely
He's
don't.
lucky that dude didn't jump
kick his
up
ass.
and give
Yeah.
him a stone cold stunner.
Well,
off
the
of
reason
a
he kicked him
table.
is because the guy's a kicker. I mean, he knows that Urban Meyer's not a small guy,
No,
but he's
a pretty
probably
big guy.
bigger than the kicker, you know?
Probably.
And so he
Yeah,
goes
the kicker
up.
still whoop his ass.
Yeah, but I'm saying he goes up and intimidates the kicker. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
he's not going to go up and intimidate an inside linebacker.
That's like Birdman pulling up on the Breakfast Club. You don't kick the kicker. You don't pull up on the radio guy. You know what I mean? Like, you don't. Well, why would anybody do anything to the kicker? The kicker is the smallest guy. It's like Urban Meyer was sitting there like, who can I be pissed off at that won't whoop my ass?
That's right.
afterward?
That's exactly it.
And he goes to the kicker because the kicker's probably the
Towel
more
boy
meeker
was in the
person.
bathroom. You know, that's what happened. So
he's lucky. He's lucky Pat McAfee wasn't on that team. He would have kicked Pat McAfee. I think the conversation would have been a little different.
Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
He
He's actually but his podcast is actually really good. He actually broke through a lot of like the professional barriers and stuff. He's able to have like top reporters like Ian Rappaport.
Oh, that's cool.
Stuff like that on his show now, because at first the NFL and the ESPN and stuff kind of like distanced themselves from him, and now they've kind of embraced him because the culture has embraced him.
That's
he has
cool.
Aaron Rodgers on there like every two. He's like Aaron Rodgers Tuesday. Like, come on, you got
Aaron Rodgers is nuts, by the way.
Oh, he's absolutely insane. But I love it. It's funny.
So my whole point with this was, after listening to that video and after talking about the Urban Meyer debacle, I very much think that these coaches still exist. They are. I would say they're outliers of coaches, but this is what gives coaches bad names. And I think if Coach Sauer were a coach in the NFL, he would be Urban Meyer, and he would just tell that kicker to take a salt tablet.
How much of that do you think still happens today, though? Like, coaches.
Well, this was 2 years ago, you know? So, I mean, I think it happens every day. And I think especially if you start going to these small Texas towns where they've got good football teams.
A lot of professional
And
levels.
just
Do you
not a
think
lot
it
of people
happens that
recording.
often?
Say it again.
And just if you just you can get away with it as long as you don't have someone
That's it.
recording it.
I think the NFL's a little different, though. I don't think you can get away with it easily in the NFL, and I think it's proven with Urban Meyer that they quickly get pushed out. And it's because, again, back to the root of it all, money. These guys make phenomenal. You really think that a coach could tell somebody like Russell Wilson anything?
Yeah.
You think that's probably a lot of the problem that he's having where he's at right now, like with
Denver.
Denver, is because can you really tell if you can't if it's somebody who is so elite in their thinking space, they don't have the humbleness to listen to somebody to improve their technique or to do better or to take any kind of criticisms, you know, like they kind of elite. They're just, I don't know. It's just you become useless in the sport of football because you can't get better if you're not listening.
Yeah,
Like
but
Tom Brady only got better and became the number one because he listens. He listened all those years, and he took the advice of
Bill
the people
Belichick,
around him. Yeah, Bill Belichick and the other coaches and stuff around him.
The thing is, though, it's different, though. I mean, let's take the NFL out of it. Let's even take college out of it, I guess, now.
Yeah. Because we're talking middle school, high school.
Middle school, high
we're
school.
talking
And-
middle
and
school,
we-
high school.
when they're not, where they don't make the money to where, like, oh, I can handle being screamed at a little bit. I can still go home to a penthouse.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I still got to go home and do homework or go to my
Right.
part-time
Yeah, well, we can
jobs
take it.
and
We
do
can take
things.
it to high school
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
So,
Is this okay? I mean, I'm sure most people can handle it, but is it okay?
Is it
like,
okay?
curse?
Okay, so I'll refer to a coach from my high school. I never played in any organized sports. I had a lot of friends that did play organized sports. I had this particular coach as a teacher for history and a couple other classes. I had him a couple times actually. I had him like 2 or 3 times, and he's like one of the number one defensive coaches in Central Texas. Before he became the head coach, he's known to be one of the best defensive coaches in the area. Well, he ends up getting the head coach spot, ends up going to championships and, having a really good success. Well, the guys that I knew from high school that played for him, there's not a bad word that any of those guys have to say about him. And they do say that he was hard and he did cuss and he had dip in his lip and he would spit dip everywhere when he was yelling and mad, and he wouldn't spit on the players. That's not what I mean. But he was a really passionate about the sport, and it showed in his players. If you go back and look at the majority of his football players, all of them, there's a handful, of course, but the majority of them have found some type of success in their life, and a lot of them can go back and that I've talked to have attributed it to the types of things that he was worried about. He was focused on their academics as well as them playing, but he was that type of coach. He was on Channel 25 or 10. They were on the sideline with the camera, and they caught him saying I won't say it out loud. I'll spell it Faggot. They caught him saying that out loud on camera, screaming at his players.
Cigarettes?
Yeah. So he was screaming at his players, and he had said that, and they caught him on a local news deal, and they spun it and everything. But everybody defended the man at the end of the day because it is a bad. It is well. It's not because he wins. It's because at his heart he is a good guy. He's done so much for these kids. There's kids that that were poor that played for him, and there was one, he would help them get clothes. There was one where a apartment complex burnt down, and a few of his players lived there. They went and bought them all clothes and stuff to help them out.
And that's great, but I still don't think it's.
Is it more of you have to respect the coach first, before you can take something
Well,
like that?
a man is not his mistake. A man is not his mistakes. A man is how he handles and comes out of his mistakes. So if he were to have said something that was wrong,
That is not the world we live in now.
it's not. But
Because everybody
it's
is their
canceled
headline.
instantly.
Whatever their headline is, that's
They're
what
instantly
everybody
canceled
is at this point.
And again,
But what I was going to say is I think there are a lot of guys out there that probably do the right thing in the long run, but it's still no reason to treat people like crap.
no, it's not.
I think
It depends on how it's perceived by every party involved. So,
but I think if you look at something like the United States military, they have taken out a lot of this stuff. Like, you can't treat people like crap anymore just because they're privates and just because this is their first day in the Army. Or
and they
whatever
can't talk back to you.
anymore.
yeah, well, that's the
Right.
thing is what that ends up happening though. It's just how much of that do you take out and how much of that do you leave?
Yeah.
Especially in the military.
Sure.
Sports is completely different. How much of that becomes to affect the battlefield where you have to have those instant, you got to do whatever I say right this
Well, and
second,
that's-
you do or we all die.
That's the thing. I
and
mean,
that's the reason why there was so much meanness, if that's what you want to call it, in the basic trainings and stuff, is because you have to understand that it's that dire. So if they have to be mean to drill that into your head to where it's
sure.
to where it's second nature.
I get why you.
Yeah,
can,
yeah, yeah,
I get the.
I just don't. I
get
don't
the
understand.
excuses for it, but I also think that these coaches think that football is life or death sometimes.
Yeah, it's not.
And so that's why
It's really
I think
not.
a lot of that bleeds over.
And if it is,
But-
and if they do think that football is life or death, the issue is that there's not enough focus on academics in a lot of these rural areas,
please.
and that fixes a lot of the issues is when academics are involved, because a lot of the times coaches can get away with screaming at these kids because I graduated with football players.
Yeah.
They could not read aloud.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, definitely.
They wouldn't read aloud because they were so embarrassed at how bad their reading level was. They couldn't. They couldn't
Yeah.
stumble. They couldn't stumble through a high school level book.
As a former high school teacher, I can tell you that the majority of athletes read at about a 4th grade level.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not gonna say that's prevalent now, but I know when I was in school, it was
Wasn't
that
that
way.
long ago. All right, I would like to tie this up at the very end with a little bow. This is a quote from Coach Sauers. This is from season 3, episode 12, and it goes a little something like this. You little pantywads think you're ready to play the Wolves again? The Wolves eat razor blades for breakfast. Run, you bunch of pudgy-butted softies. Run with your fancy sneakers with the pumps and the valves and the little lights on the back that can set off a seizure. But what do you care? I ran around the world in a pair of Chuck Taylors for the love of Pete. Damn it. Never did I like you, Hill. You were a know-it-all and do-gooder and a teeny-tiny, weak little girly ankle bone snapped in the finals, and you lost me state. So there you go.
There we go.
Thanks, Coach Sauers. All right, I think that's it.
That's it.
Rusty, you want to tell them where they can find us?
Yeah, you could find us
Not at the soccer fields.
not at a soccer field. You can find us on Linktree. We have a Linktree with all of our links in a pretty nice little list and format for you. That's linktr.ee/BWAAA-KOTH. That's BWAAA-KOTH. And that link there will have you all the platforms. I've added in a Twitch link for you guys too. So keep a lookout for me. I just play random games. I'm not doing it. It's not like super King of the Hill related, but if you pop up and you want to argue with me about something about King of the Hill, I'll gladly discuss it. But it's just Rusty Shackelford 05 is the name I stream under.
Didn't somebody make that propane game, the GTA type game that Hank got addicted to? Didn't somebody actually
I'm
make
going to
that
look
game?
that up, and if they did, I'll stream that.
Because I would stream that with
There
you.
is a King of the Hill computer game that they had made back in the
Really?
day. And
It's kind of like one of those Simpsons games or something.
yeah, I think I could play it. I'd have to look. I think it's on Archive, the Internet Archive, where everything is.
Sure.
King of the Hill is on the Internet Archive.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
The Drew Carey Show, the only place that I could find it without having to pay for it season by you literally would have to pay for season by season otherwise,
Sure.
was on the Internet Archive, which, man, let me tell you. The Drew Carey Show is a show that could not be made today for sure.
Oh, yeah,
Everybody says The
absolutely.
Office couldn't be made today. Go watch The Drew Carey Show.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
I always argue that people say The Office can. Yes, The Office could.
Sure it can.
I think
They're
it
only
could be.
thinking about the first season. The first season is where the most.
Well, they're
problematic
thinking about the race relations day, the whatever you call it, the one where they put the cards on their heads.
Oh yeah, I remember. I think no, that was the first season. Like
That
just-
was the first episode.
I got a
yeah,
quick
just
story to
change the
wrap
first
this up
season.
with.
You can still do the show.
Or second
Sorry,
episode,
Rusty.
maybe.
No,
I
you're
don't know.
good. I just got a quick Office story to wrap this up with. So back in my early 20s, I was in college at MCC,
Yeah.
and a buddy of mine, we had discovered The Office. Well, we didn't have any money or anything like that at the time. We were both broke as hell.
Sure.
So we went library hopping to be able to watch, because we were trying to catch up to The Office to where it was at that point. This is like 2012. We were trying to catch up. So we were like, well, how do we watch The Office for free? And like, how do we get it for free?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I have a library subscription. He said, well, let's go see if they have it at the library. And sure enough, we went to the library. But it was funny because they were all spread out over Waco.
Sure.
It was like every different library had
So
a
you had to go
different
from library
season.
to library
So we
to
had to go
watch the
from
episodes,
library
yeah.
to the library.
That's cool.
Once a week, we were going to this library to grab it, and then this
That's
library.
funny.
So that's how we watched, like, I think it's like the first 6 seasons of The Office. That's how I watched them.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great show. Well, thank you guys for joining us again on a wacky Friday. And we hope that we helped you wrap up your week a little bit. And catch us back here again on Monday, and we'll be moving on to season 3, episode 13.
Yeah, and we're getting through the season, guys. We're almost to the end.
Season 3, episode 13, Attack of
Halfway.
the Clones. Right?
Attack of the
Is that right?
Clones.
Yeah, sure.
It sounded good.
All right, guys. We all take it easy, and we will see you next time.
Wimatanye.
We met Tanya, indeed. Oh.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.